If I'm wearing a Rolex watch or if I'm wearing a Next watch, they both do the same thing. You spending that £3,000 to £6,000 on that Rolex watch when you don't even own your own house, I don't get it.
Real friends tell you facts.
Yeah.
And fake friends would just tell you what you want to hear because they don't want to see you perform. Welcome back to Take a Seat. This is a channel we've created to inspire you guys by bringing on entrepreneurs, business people, and high-profile influencers. We've already had our first female on, and today we've got our second one. She's got an amazing story. She's going to tell us all about having 21 properties.
No, it's 22. Get it right.
Oh, sorry, it's 22 now. Got it wrong. But she's building a portfolio fast and there's no stopping her right now. By profession, she's also a mortgage specialist. So she can help us with some myth-busting truths about mortgages and some of the things that you guys, hinder yourselves with by not thinking about, the future. Even as simple as missing a telephone bill, for example. And we'll also ask Jessica all about how it is for a woman to be in business and in the property world. So welcome, Jessica.
Woo! Hi, Sean. Nice seeing you. Nice coming on the show.
Thank you for giving us your time because you've come all the way from Leeds.
Oh, yeah. It's really cold there too.
It's a little bit warmer in London.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Yeah. Very good.
You excited about today?
So excited. Yeah. Couldn't sleep.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, I could tell how excited you was when you was messaging. You were like, let's get on the pod. And I was like, you've got an inspiring story and people need to hear about this,
Oh, bless you.
Yes. So how's the mortgage world? I mean, look, especially today, we've actually had the Bank of England raise interest rates by another 0.25%.
I knew it was going to happen. Yes. I know that sounds cheesy. I bet everybody's saying that now. But yeah, it was understandable. It's going to happen when USA does something we do tend to follow, and it happened. So that's it. We've just got to deal with it.
Do you see that reflecting in mortgage rates as well?
So the lenders are doing something slightly different. They dropped a lot of rates last month. So I think everyone shouldn't really panic. Just if it's time to do your mortgage, do it. Don't sit on it. Get on with it. That's all my advice is. Bank of England might go up again, might go down. Just start buying the deals, do the remortgages, sort it all out. That's my big tips anyway.
Just get on with it, really, if it's the right time for you. People are saying like there's a cost of living crisis and, there's not much money about. Yeah. What would you say to them people?
No, look, I'm seeing it from people who are renting from me and to just individuals in the community. And there is a cost of living crisis. There is. I do think that things are costing more, food's costing more. But we're just going to have to suck it up for a bit. And I know it sounds cheesy, but like maybe think a bit more when you're going out to buy that coffee. Yeah. Do you really need it?
True.
And maybe, look, I'm not saying anything to coffee businesses because some of my friends own coffee shops. Keep these businesses in place, but also just think a bit, do you really need that extra item of clothing or do you need that extra meal out?
So be smart with your money is what you're saying. Yeah. How important is it to have like a thing like a budget?
So I do, it sounds cheesy, I do write everything down what I spend.
Okay.
And I am very savvy with what I'm doing my weekly shop. Some people may say I'm tight. I don't know, but I just think have a budget every week, work to that. It might be £20, might be 50, might be 100, whatever your budget is. There's no need to be spending excessively, not at the moment anyway.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you there. It's all about making the invisible visible. Yeah. Because sometimes we don't even realize, like how many of us, because I'm guilty of it, is you just got this contactless now and you just tap. And the next minute, you're like, someone's done fraud on my account. Someone's taking money out my account. And then you realize, actually, no, I did have that coffee and my bill has come off and I have gone over. But it's all about staying within your limits.
Yeah.
Life is all about balance.
Totally.
And even like a health person will tell
Yeah,
you.
so this is
you
what
know
I was saying to my friend the other day. We all go on about this health kick of eating well. So you also should be thinking about money in that sense of being healthy with your money, healthy in the sense that, only spending so much and reserving it and really thinking to yourself, do I need that extra bottle of bleach? Or do I actually need whatever you're going to buy? You might not need it. You might be able to use the products at home. You might be able to cook healthier by having a meal at home instead.
Well, you're a mortgage specialist.
Yeah.
So you look at a lot of bank statements.
Yeah.
And I know you're not going to say any names or
No.
any confidential information, but just as an overall and general sort of, looking at all of these statements, what would you say, like, are people spending money on crap?
Yeah, pretty much.
And
Yeah.
and like as a percentage, how much do you think people could generally be smarter with their money?
I just think we all just need to have that moment of thinking, do I need it? I'm bad. I used to be really bad for it. And being married to my husband who's really tight, that has helped. But I just think we just, like, for example, I'm not going to name names. There's been customers I've been to see and they've got problems with financially and they're getting the carpets done and they're getting the houses redecorated. To me, wouldn't you sort out your financial issues before redecorating your house?
Yeah, of course, because you've got the house already.
Well, yeah.
And decoration is just whether, your comfortability, and
Yeah.
maybe you can wait a little bit longer and just, it's okay to be uncomfortable for a little while. But if you're sorting this next thing out, like your debts, your outgoings every month is going to be reducing,
Yeah.
which makes your bank balance a little bit bigger. And then you can do it passively, like all of this
Exactly.
decoration, without it sort of hurting your pocket too much.
It's like, right, so my whole ethos in my head when how I work things, right? If I'm wearing a Rolex watch or if I'm wearing a Next watch, they both do the same thing. They both tell the time.
Yeah.
Only you know yourself it's a Rolex watch. So you spending that £3,000 to £6,000 on that Rolex watch when you don't even own your own house, I don't get it. To me, I'd rather just have the Next watch. But maybe that's just me. But everyone's got a different push-pull factor, what makes them think about things.
But that is the right mindset to have. That's what you said. Like, I think someone really rich said it, like it doesn't matter if you've got a Rolex watch, or something very cheap like a Seiko.
Yeah.
It both does the same thing.
Same
It
thing.
doesn't matter if you've got a Ferrari or a little Metro.
Yeah.
It all does the same
A
thing.
to B, it drives you.
It goes to the same thing, and we've all got the same time on this world as well. Like,
Yeah.
no one's going to have bags of money that they're going to be taking into their coffin with them. I think even Alexandra the Great said, when you bury me, can you put my hands like this? And they said, why? And he goes, because I just want to show the whole world that when I'm leaving this world,
It's
I have
empty.
all this money, but I'm leaving empty.
Yeah.
Let that be a lesson to you.
It's a vessel, yeah.
All that you're going to leave behind is memories.
Yes.
And what do you want to be remembered for? For the person who showed off and wearing this brand,
Yeah.
that brand? Because I'm telling you, like, the people who own Gucci and, some of the richest people in the world,
Yeah.
that's who you're supporting. Why are you not supporting your small brands? Why are you not supporting your small brokers rather than going to these big companies?
Yep.
Why are you not helping the community? Because maybe that's the secret to getting. If you look after some of the smaller people, maybe you'll get more quality rather than be, a small fish in a big pond where you're trying to chase the big things. You mentioned something about, awareness, being aware that you're, and taking your time, taking a step back and going, what am I doing here? Spending £3,000, I'm signing a contract to get myself into debt to afford this thing.
Yeah.
After a week or two wearing this item, the novelty wears off, but I've still got to be paying this thing now. And you think, why the bloody hell did I do that? And in some cases, you end up hating yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a wrong mindset to have, because you look at yourself and you go, I really hate you. Why did you do this? Like, you're always doing this and this is why I'm not getting ahead. Oh, now I'm behind. So-and-so's bought a house before me now and I've made some of the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
I've wasted this many years in my life and people. So how do we create that stillness of being aware? Like, what am I doing? Is this going to impact me? How do we not react impulsively? Like, what stopped you from overspending?
Okay, so recently, well, not recently, but over the last couple of years, I used to be bad years ago for spending, really bad. And then in the last couple of years, I've just really started thinking I want to build my passive income. Everyone has factors that make them want to do things. So my girls are my biggest key factor, what motivates me, that I want to not just leave a legacy for them, but I want to leave them something so they can remember me by. So when I go and spend something, I tend to, if it's a big purchase, I like to think about it and go away. Whereas if it's a house, I don't really think, I just do it. Because to me, that is an asset purchase. It's only going to go up in value. I'm not saying don't have these things like Rolexes, nice cars and everything. Have them, but have some sort of passive income that helps you pay for these nice things.
Absolutely. So you distinguished something there, Jess, about, if you're doing something impulsively, you should be making impulse decisions with buying assets.
Yeah.
Not liabilities.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be looking
That's it. That's the word.
Yeah. So you shouldn't say, I'm going to buy that Rolex, or I'm going to go for that car, I'm going to get it this finance. No, none of that. It's all about, hang on, I'm going to make an impulse decision in buying that house. I know I've got money in the bank. The numbers make sense. Stop procrastinating and going, is it the right time now? If you've got money in the bank, and you can put a deposit down, the rent's going to pay for that mortgage.
Yeah.
And you've got another source of income that if shit hits the fan, I can cover 1-2 months of payment. If you've got a partner, or if you can JV with somebody, these are some of the things you should be impulse buying. Buy assets, not liabilities. And the difference between an asset and a liability is liabilities can even be your own house, because it takes money out of your pocket every single month. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. Yeah. So when you've got a buy to let and you're renting a house or an asset, that's putting money into your pockets. Now, there's nothing wrong with owning your house. Over time, it does appreciate, yes. But the longer you stay in a smaller house and sacrifice for a little bit, the longer you're keeping your outgoings, lower.
Yeah.
You can save more and then invest in things around you. And later, you can get these assets to pay for your next big purchase.
Correct.
Yeah.
Totally true.
Yes.
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 Yeah. Totally agree with that.
Look, it's amazing having an expert like you on.
Expert.
Listen, we don't hold that sort of that title very lightly.
No.
And we should be more confident in calling ourselves experts, especially when you've bought 22 properties. Sorry.
Yeah.
You are an expert.
Yeah.
People are making their 1, 2, 3, 4 properties, and these mentors out there are calling themselves experts. You're a veteran in the game. You've done it time and time again. You've almost can get it automized. You're also a mortgage specialist. So you're somebody who looks at banks, what the rates are doing.
Yeah.
So on the analytical side, what can hit, what shit can hit the fan, and what could happen potentially to your portfolio. You're also a landlord who manages your own properties. You speak to tenants, so you understand what your tenants are going through.
Yeah.
So I'd feel really comfortable in coming to you. But before we go deeper into that sort of side of things, I'm a great believer of the thing in between your ears. It's all about your mindset.
Yeah.
It's all about what's going on, what's turning in your head, what's created these habits, what made Jess. Because there's a lot of people who just want the house and going, I'm going to get that house and I'm going to be a millionaire. And the first time the mortgage is in, the property might go into negative equity. They start panicking, and that's it. It's never for them, and it's scared them for life.
Yeah.
And that's all about being mindful and having the right mindset. And things make you. And these are some of the things, I think 95% we need to look at what's happening here in the mind.
Totally.
So, and I believe experiences and failures and your exposure in your younger environment will sort of dictate, who you become, and it's all about your environment. And if you're not in the right environment, you need to get into the right places to create the right people around you for you to have different thought processes to become the person you want to be, and sometimes we're not always dealt the right cards.
Yeah.
But maybe you sharing your story today, people can relate to you and say, wow, maybe I can make that one change today.
Yeah.
Not tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes.
It doesn't. You're right there.
Because there's tomorrow again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's see what we can pick out from yourself.
Okay.
And yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. So I know you're from Leeds. Is that where you grew up?
Yeah, so born and bred in Leeds. The Leeds accent comes out now. Yeah, so mum and dad. Carlo was dad, mum was Jazz. He was originally from Africa, Mombasa, Nairobi, and mum from India. Arranged marriage, then I came along. So I've got another sibling as well, my sister Sarah, and the two of us. So mum and dad, they were married, they divorced. So that was quite hard in
And
the 80s.
how old was you then?
I was 4 years old, so
Okay.
that was quite tough. Coming into, because I'm Indian, I'm Sikh in my background. So coming in the 80s from a broken home, this wasn't the norm, and it was tough growing up.
Yeah. Do you have memories of seeing both parents, or was your dad present? Or?
So when, God rest his soul, because he's passed away now.
Okay.
You know, growing up, it wasn't for him when we were really little, and he was there weekly, but my mum did the lion's share of things until we got to about maybe about 10 or 11. Then he really took an interest. Then he was really like, oh, I'm going to get you ahead, and we used to go visit him more then. So it's just, obviously, I think this has impacted me as a person in itself. But obviously the memories that I do have of my dad when I was little, he had a few rental properties, and we used to go tiling, and we'd be playing when he'd be doing things on the properties. So any normal family may have family days out to Malham or going walking. We didn't do that. We were either in the shop or we were tiling.
What shop did you have?
We had off licenses.
Oh, wow. So we've got some similarities already.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, wow.
So these are my memories.
Okay.
So
who had the shop?
So my dad, he had the shops.
Okay.
So he had 2 shops, and me and my sister, for fun, we would handball beers, like move them. Okay. So everything, when I used to sit with my dad, he'd talk to me, and no conversation would be a normal conversation. Yeah. It'd be only if there's a point to having a conversation. Mm-hmm. So he was quite a quiet person, unless there was something to be said.
Yeah, I think the generation of our parents, born in sort of the 60s sort of time, they have this sort of respect barrier.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And it's like, what you're talking about, is it going to make sense? Are you talking about something worthy? You don't just sit there trying to play about, have a joke with me, because we ain't got time for that, because they had a different mindset.
Totally different mindset to us.
It was all about grinding and working hard.
Yeah, and everything, his whole ethos, when he'd talk to you, so as we got older, obviously, things got better, and we'd see him quite a lot. I'd come back from uni, and we'd have he'd call it a jamming up session. So every Sunday he'd sit us in his car to talk to us about the week ahead. So it was all about goals. Obviously when I sit back and I think, he used to always be setting the goals every week of who we're going to be better than. I know it sounds really bad. Mm-hmm. And what we're going to achieve at uni, college, whatever. And what, even in work. And all our conversations with him were about things like that. Whereas my mum, her conversations were more about love and growing and the community and being Indian, and they're totally different.
A lot of people look at the Asian community and say, you guys do really well. You guys always have some shops or houses. You guys know how to do business. But money is important, but sometimes they don't see that some of the stuff we go through.
Yeah.
And
it's the challenges, when you live I class myself as British Indian because I was born here, but it's the challenges because obviously you were born in this country, but still I recognise my heritage of being Sikh. So I recognise both aspects of my personality. Yes, I'm called Jessica, I've got an English name, but I am also Indian and I'm also Sikh, and I'm proud of it. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of both.
Yes.
I'm a mixture.
So, how was school for you?
Oh, so school was very interesting. Had a lot of bullying, very not a place where I was comfortable at all. Really was probably an outcast.
Why is that?
I might get upset now. I was very overweight as a child, possibly to do with the aspects of my family and the brokenness of it. And it did affect me. Sorry. Yeah. And so when I actually came into my own was when I was at university, when I grew my wings and I was able to, because I went away to uni, I went to Liverpool, and it really made me become the me that I am now.
Yeah. Liverpool's a lovely area.
Yeah, it's good now.
Oh, wasn't it?
It
Not back
wasn't,
then.
and it's
Okay.
at the capital of culture now.
Right. Yeah, like I've been there twice in the last few years. Just
It's
went in
good.
October. It's like central London, like
It's amazing now,
near
yeah.
the Merseyside and all that. It's
Yeah.
the big buildings because it was one of the richest places in the world, like in England, because
15th century, yeah.
everything from America used to come
The
through them
ports, yeah.
ports, isn't it? And I
Yeah.
didn't know that, but you got John Lennon and
Yeah.
the Paul McCartney,
Yeah.
and
Beatles story, yeah.
I'm telling you, honestly, it's wicked out there. But at the time, you said, when did you go uni?
So I was at uni from 2000 till 2004. So I did a degree and then a master's.
Oh, okay,
So yeah.
right. And what did you do a master's in?
Yeah. So the master's in management, business and management.
Okay, and the degree?
So the degree was in business and information because business doesn't have any information apparently.
Okay, and how much did the degree help you?
So I think it did. So I always, because I've got children, I always champion, and I talk to many friends who work for the tax office and things like that, and I also always say to them, we should be taught from the word go about tax and about literally understanding our pay slips, things like this that we need to know. So when I was at uni, I was taught about profit and loss accounts. I was taught how to run your own business. I did modules on marketing, modules on HR. So these aspects have all helped when I've done my previous businesses and
Sure.
even now.
And can I just ask that university is not the same price it used to be?
No.
So back when we went, I don't know, it's just over £1,000. Over 3 years, it's £3,000.
Yeah.
You can almost get a summer job and pay for it and not even be left with debt.
Yeah.
Now, people are being faced with £10,000 of debt per year, and you're going to be left with £30,000 worth
Wow.
of debt and not even a job guaranteed at the end of it. Because everyone's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
What in your opinion, if you were 19, 20, would you go
Yeah.
and do an apprenticeship where you're getting paid and you're studying a little bit and you're getting experience?
Yeah.
Or would you go through the degree route?
So I think there's two aspects, because I've got friends who have become area managers and whatever in the bank who didn't do it the way I did it, who did it the traditional way of like working up through the ranks. I think it depends on the individual, right? You've got to understand, if you did the apprentice thing, you could still lose your job. You could still be in a situation when you haven't got a job, or you could do the uni way. I think if you're going to do the uni way, you need to look for a course that's got you a year in industry at least. So then you're more marketable when you're out in industry looking for a job because you've already been working.
Okay, so let me give you a scenario now, Jess. You're a business owner, yeah?
Okay.
And you're looking for somebody to do all of the basic work for you, prepare all your statements, package everything up for you. So you've just got to basically just press a button and you can train somebody to do that.
Yeah.
Are you choosing someone who's got a degree in business for the last 3 years to do that for you? Or are you choosing somebody who's got 3 years experience working for somebody else?
3 years experience, I'm sorry. Yeah. Because for me, although I've got a degree, but everyone always thinks, I've got my degree, that's it, and I'm going to be like this big shot. You've got to remember that is your springboard to get to where you need to get to. It is not, that's it, game over. That is the beginning. You're going to have to do more courses, you're going to have to do more learning, and that's it.
There's a lot of people out there who provide courses, and
yeah.
I mean, some courses are just Mickey Mouse, and you think, "What the hell are you selling?" Yeah, you're selling £1,000 for this course, and you can actually find this out on YouTube.
Yeah.
But there's some people who are really homing in and bespoking into a certain field and saying, "Look, I'm going to show you exactly how to do this small business. You're not going to make £1 million from it, but you're definitely going to start making some sort of £300-400 a week, which is 12 to 1600 a month." And you're just buying this, selling this. Here's the platforms to sell it on, and you're on your way.
Yeah.
Do you think that could be a good way for some people to do? Maybe do a couple of mini courses, like 1, 2, 3, like rather than spending 30 grand on a degree and actually learning skills with somebody and starting their own entrepreneurship.
So if if an individual wanted to get into property, I mean, I don't charge for you can always DM me, whatever, message me. I'll give you some advice. I don't charge for my advice, but because I like helping people. But if there's people out there thinking I want to get into property and I want to do some courses. Yeah, go do them. But I just think the best way you can learn is actually going and doing it. I know it sounds scary that you're going to take that leap. You're going to go view them houses, go talk to people in property. Do some courses if you want, if you feel that would be beneficial for you. But then once you've done them courses, do something with that learning. Don't just then go, all right, so I've done them courses. I'm just going to sit back. So I'll give you an example. For example, about a year ago, I set myself my mission that I'm going to do my CMAP 1, 2, and 3 again. I did the exams, and then I was talking to a friend, and she was like, all right, so you've done them. What are you going to do with it now? You're just going to chill? No, I'm not. Then I just thought to myself, I'm not going to just chill. I'm going to use this, the knowledge I've gained, and I'm going to go and do the job. So that's what I did. Quit my job, and then I started doing the mortgage broking thing.
I think you've said a very valid point there. And it's all about, I think people get really scared when they see big numbers.
Yeah.
And they say, wow, I'm going to have that much debt underneath my name. I'm going to owe the bank 80,000, 100,000, 120,000. But I think people have got to realize
I'm going to stop here and quote rich dad, poor dad.
Yeah.
Everything is debt. Like people, someone said to me the other day, Jessica, I'm scared. I'm not going to own that house if I take a mortgage out. So, yeah, and you probably will never owe it. You know that piece of paper you class as money? You don't really own that anyway. It actually represents, I owe the sum of. It's not actually money. So I just think...
people don't actually realize that the biggest businessmen in the world are leveraged the most.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how is money created? Money's created when somebody takes that debt.
Yeah.
And when you have money in the savings account, then basically when inflation occurs, your money devalues.
Yes.
So you're saving money that's actually worth less in the future.
Yes.
Inflation is higher than what the interest rate you're getting on some of your savings. However, when you take out debt, you don't actually pay any capital gains tax. So if you've got a property that's gone up in value and you've taken more of a further advance or refinanced it and take some money out, you don't pay anything for that. And the more times that you've got money in the bank, the banking system actually has something called the fractional banking system where they can lend your money 20 times more to other people. So they're making money on your money.
So why are you going to put money in a bank that they're going to then lend it out and then you're not making on it? I'll give you an example, Sean. I bought a house 10 years ago, 10 years ago, just after my dad died. And I bought it for £50,000. Do you know what it's worth today?
Go on.
130.
Wow.
So
that's more than 100%.
Well, yeah. And then that would not have happened if I'd have put in a savings account.
Wow.
No way, Jose.
Wow.
And look at that. I've also, because back then I was adverse to risk and I put it on a repayment. So I've got very little mortgage left on it. Yeah. So I just say to everyone, just go for it. Do it. Stop letting that noise between your heads stopping you making that jump, making that leap.
That property is actually free for you now.
Yeah, nearly.
But
from what I paid.
If you refinance that, 130,000, 75%, how much do you get out?
Oh gosh, this is it. About 100, 105.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
And you bought it for 50.
Yeah.
So you've actually got all your money back. You've actually de-risked that asset.
Yeah.
So even if you lost it after refinancing,
and not only that,
won't cost
it's
you.
let as well at the moment. So you're also making the money on the let. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. And I don't know how this is still an argument where people say, oh, you shouldn't buy a property.
Yeah.
Look, house prices are going up.
Yeah.
So grab a little bit of it because I feel this is going to be a commodity, an asset class that in the next 10 years, a lot of people are not going to be able to get hold of this asset. They're going to look at a house and the average house price in 2033 in London is predicted to be around 900,000. Now, you tell me how many people are going to be able to afford that with wages increasing, at a
1 or 2%
and pace. I really do reckon that, you're going to have this sort of NFT, a non-fungible token, that has that house on it, and you're going to be able to invest in that house, like saying, I can buy a little pixel out of that house, which is now going to get that little bit of a rent in return. And that's how it is going to be in the future. So the quicker you can get hold of at least one piece of this asset, you're going to actually set yourself up and your future generations, because it's worked for my granddad, it's worked for my dad, it's worked for myself. Hence why, your dad was investing in property as well, and you've learned
Yeah.
the same sort of art. So just tell us a little bit about your first job. Where did you work? And obviously you worked in the shop, but
so my first job, this is gonna make you laugh. I was a waitress in Pizza Hut.
okay.
I used to do 10 hours a week while I was at college. My dad hated it because in his head, he thought waitresses get their bums pinched. It never happened because, look, it was Pizza Hut. I tried to explain it to my traditional dad. And he used to pick me up and he was like, oh, they don't do that here. I was like, nah. But yes, I worked there for 2 years. So I saved £3,000 so I could take it to uni. And I loved it. I used to do 10 hours a week, and it was my little job. I wasn't maybe the best employee, not because I was doing anything untoward. I was just a bit dopey. That's what I would say. My head was a bit all over. I'd walk into the tables. I'd walk into the customers. I'd walk into, you name it, I was clumsy as anything. So probably not the best waitress because I'm still quite clumsy. Yeah, so that was my first job.
And what did you do with the money?
Yeah, so I saved it and put it in an ISA. What? And took it to uni. And then I think over the next 3 years, I kind of blew it. Buying tops and going out.
So for those of you who don't know, an ISA is an individual savings account.
Sorry.
And no, because a lot of our audience is young.
Oh, right. Okay.
They're 16, 18, 20, 21. They're looking at to make a change. So we've got to explain some of these things. And some people just haven't had the opportunity to learn these things.
Yeah.
So the government gives you an allowance.
Yes.
Every single year is in the budget. And there's a set amount they let you to put into an individual savings account where you get all of the interest without being taxed on any of that. So maybe that could be one of your first places while you're saving for a deposit.
Yeah.
Is maybe park some of that money into something like an ISA where you're gaining some sort of interest, without paying any sort of tax on that money. So if you're a lower rate taxpayer, you'll pay 20% tax on. So for every £1 interest, you'll probably get taxed 20p, and you get 80p. But if it's in an ISA, you don't get taxed at all. So that would be a good start.
Yeah.
So you left Pizza Hut is when you went to university?
Yeah, because I wanted to concentrate. And I had a little job in the Students' Union. It was called, what was it called? Scholars. I used to work there just on a weekend when I'd stay at uni. It was kind of flexible. And it was just so that I could keep my hand in, like doing bits and bobs while I was at uni. But really, I didn't really work while I was at university. I just concentrated on doing the exams and stuff like that.
Sure. And so you graduated then?
Yeah.
And then you stayed on for another year, did you say, for a master's?
2 years, yeah.
2 more years for a mastery.
Yeah.
And you just was concentrating on studying.
Yeah. And then obviously in the final year, because when you're doing a master's, a lecturer on an undergraduate is like maybe an hour, whereas on a master's it's 3 hours. Wow. And your dissertation on a normal degree would be probably 10,000 words, whereas on your thesis for your master's, it's like 30,000 words. And it's all got to be your own words.
Yes. Not chat GPT. That's what everyone's doing now. I would like an A for this. You can choose your grade and everything. Really? So I want to ask you, looking back now, was that a good use of 5 years of your life doing a degree and a master's?
So I would say, because I've made some really good friendships I made back then, people that I'm still in touch with now. I'm really, one of my best friends is out in Dubai, selling palms, villas on the palm. Wouldn't have made that friendship if I hadn't gone to university. Mm-hmm. And, them memories are with me for the rest of my life. And I do think, like we were talking earlier, Sean, memories are also important. It's good about doing all the buying this, buying that, but memories are also what make a person who they are.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's a good way to look at it. Yeah. It can't be just business, money.
No,
it's about life is about experiences and picking up experiences along the way. I also did go to uni. I did accounting and finance.
Oh, did you?
I went to Greenwich. Then I got straight into banking. But
amazing.
It's all an experience. We speak to some of our uni friends. But one thing I would say is the last time I went we recently met up, all of us uni crowd, and there was about 15 of us, and we did accounting and finance. So,
Okay.
but I didn't let that defy what I was going to be or what I was going
No.
to do for the rest of my life. I think every 3 to 5 years, I'm always getting into a different industry. Just like
That's
now,
good. That's
I'm in
good.
podcasting, I'm on social media right now. This is
Amazing.
my newest thing. And even from here, I know where I'm going,
Oh,
or
amazing.
I have a focus. But I think I'm just one of them people. I can't do something forever because I
Yeah.
don't think you have to nowadays. You can reinvent yourself so many times.
Yeah.
However, I went to this meal
Mm-hmm.
and I looked at all of my friends, and they're all really nice, really good people. But so what do you do now, bro? Oh yeah, I work for the council, but I
What
do
do you
the but I do the accounts for them. I was like, okay, great. And next, yeah, I'm working for the same company last 15 years.
Yeah.
But I've also done this one, and I'm now ACCA accredited, and
Amazing.
I'm like, great, amazing. And yeah, they've given me some more pay increase, and I'm looking at the pay increase. I'm like, hang on, they give you like 5 or 10 grand just to keep you sort of quiet. Like they're not paying you what you're worth.
Yeah.
And one of them was even like, bro, I need a side hustle. Like I
Yeah.
work from home and I'm just bored of this now. And it's like,
Yeah.
was I the only one who just went, I'm going to go banking, be a cashier, coordinator, personal banker, premier manager. Okay, I'm
Oh,
look
is that
after.
how you did it?
That's
Cool.
how I did it. Worked up my ranks.
Amazing.
And from there, went self-employed. I became a builder at 26.
Amazing.
Swapped my tie and shirt for a shovel,
Good
building
for you.
houses and extensions. And then
Yeah.
did that for 6 years. Worked with the designer with the BBC and made all of these bespoke homes that were in magazines, to then
Amazing.
going into full-time being a landlord and brokering my deals into care homes and HMOs, and then at one stage having nearly 50 rooms in Stratford.
Amazing.
So what everyone talks about now about having all of these serviced accommodations, Airbnb and booking.com. I was doing that back in 2015, but I didn't even know I was doing it. All I was just trying to do is get through the summers, where everybody would go back home after university, and there would just be like tumbleweed going through the property. And I'm like, how am I going to rent this? And then, hey, hang on, people come from abroad. I'm in Stratford. It's
Yeah.
a very good location. People want to rent this for 3 days and they pay for my whole room rent for the month. So as long as I got my room rate covered, I wasn't more hungry after that. I was like, just thank God that
It's covered, yeah.
it's just covered.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the thing is, like, sometimes people get stuck in one job forever.
No, I agree with you.
And I think that is very sad because they say
You've got to reinvent yourself,
you have
because
to.
I mean, this is what I've read somewhere, that every one person has up to 3 careers in them. So I've had my banking career because obviously I was a bank manager
Yeah.
for RBS, and I was a mortgage advisor for them. And then after my dad died, we ran his shop for 10 years, and we changed his little corner shop into a massive Nisa store from 1 staff to 16 staff. Turnover 8,000 a week to 26,000 a week.
Bloody hell.
So we
Wow,
really,
you really smashed it up.
yeah.
So is that what you did straight after university?
So after university, came back, then went into banking and finance.
Okay.
Worked for RBS, worked as a customer advisor
In the
in
front,
RBS
in
in
retail,
Leeds. In Leeds,
in retail.
yeah,
the front
retail
side?
banking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that was one of your first jobs, like officially
That's
after
my
uni.
proper job.
Okay. Cool.
So I did that for 8 years.
8 years.
8 years, yeah.
Oh wow.
So I was a bank manager for 4.
Right. Okay.
So really, that's where my background's come from.
And how was that journey for you? Like, was it like you were just learning about yourself, learning how to manage money? Was you saving money in the background? What was going on in the background apart from Jessica being a customer service advisor?
So my dad, I'm gonna be giving him his dues. He got me the job. Obviously, I smashed the interview myself. He set the interview up, and then I got the interview in the end. And then my mum used to make me pay her rent. Well, she said it was rent, but then when I was ready to buy my first house, she actually gave me all the money back and said, "There's your deposit." I thought she was just keeping it and spending it, but she wasn't.
She was teaching you the art of discipline.
Yeah.
That if you wasn't living at home, you would be paying this every single month.
I still remember it was £275 a month that to pay her.
Wow.
And if I was ever late, I'd be in trouble.
Wow. Okay. So would you advise parents out there,
Yeah.
to discipline your children, say start contributing towards the house bills and rent?
And if you've got, obviously there's some parents, with the cost of living crisis, they might need that money from you guys. So just give them it, like if you don't be selfish and be thinking I've got this new job and like I'm going to spend it all on myself, because that is a liability again. put a bit of that money away.
So after how long working in the bank did you buy your first property?
So I bought my first house in 2008.
2008. Okay. And how old was you?
Was 28.
28. Okay. And can you tell us a little bit more about that deal?
Yeah, so I showed my dad this house. He was still fine, fit and well then because he passed away in 2012. And he had a keen eye. He knew when a property was right. We drove past it and he wasn't really able-bodied then. But straight away from outside, he goes, right, it's got UPVC windows. That's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
He goes, the roof looks sound. The gutter's gone. You need to get the price off on the gutter. The door's not right. You need to have the house pointed. Pointing is not right. And he didn't even go into it. And he knew. And he says, plus, it's a cottage. You're going to be spending lots of money on that old house. And he was right. He was right.
Okay.
He was so right.
What's the difference between a normal house and a cottage?
So a cottage is probably like, it might be listed. So a normal house wouldn't be grade 2 listed. So, when you've got something like a cottage, I think you tend to have them north of England, maybe. I don't know. Might be 1800s built. Wow. So it's harder to get a mortgage on it sometimes, and it's harder to get some work done on it.
Is it built differently?
Yeah, because it's built of stone.
Okay.
So to keep the house warmer, it's a lot harder.
Okay.
And they're spooky.
So what made you go for that?
I don't know. I thought,
spooky.
I'm just terrible. So I've just, I don't even know why I went for it. I thought, do you know what? With the knowledge I've got now, I wouldn't necessarily go for it. But obviously back then, I was new to industry. I was naive. I was a mortgage advisor in the bank. I thought it's a bargain. I paid $116,000 for it, and I sold it in 2017 for $89,000.
Wow.
So I lost money on it. Okay. So that is one deal that I lost a lot of money on. Lots of tears cried over that house because there were so many issues with it.
Did you make any money, like in terms of rental and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I managed to rent it out. Obviously, I lived in it for a bit when my dad was alive because I wanted to have my own independence, and he was like, "Why?" But anyway, I did that. And then when I decided to move back home, because it's so scary living away from home after you've never done that.
Especially in a spooky cottage.
Yeah, I know. It was across the road from a graveyard. Can you believe that? My dad was like, "Why
this just gets worse."
I know. So literally, it was just so much work, so many problems. I used to get, so originally the rent I asked for was $600 a month. And in the end, because there were so many issues, the guy got me down to $500 a month. And in the end, I ended up having to evict him because he wasn't paying the rent. I was just, when you have so many tears for a house, and it was one of them.
Wow. So what would you advise people when looking for a house based on that first experience?
Yeah.
What not to do? So one of the things you said was stay away from maybe listed houses.
Yeah, I would. Unless you have knowledge of that. I always think, look, there's a lot of people in property saying just buy anywhere in the country. For my best rule of thumb is go for what you know, right? Stick where you know. Stick the area you know, because just to begin with, until you're more established, until you got more knowledge on like buying in property. And then I would just maybe stick away from something that's listed, just because you'll get more lenders willing to lend to you.
Yeah.
And you'll get more chance of like not having all these tedious problems. I'm not saying don't buy terraced houses because they're really good. The only issue you got with terraced houses is maybe the drainage goes and the drains.
They're all linked down the street.
One, they're linked, and two, the clay pots can go, the footings go on them. Right. So that's the only thing. But terraced houses are really good. But listed properties like cottages, just stick away from them for the first few till you got that knowledge.
Okay. So today you have so that was the start of your property journey.
Yeah.
How long after did you go for the second one?
So a little bit of time. Okay, so the second one, you're probably going to think, what? The second one's probably quite a bit of time, 4 years.
Okay, so you're like 32 now.
Yeah, father passed away. And so obviously that took its toll, losing such a big, prominent person in our life. Everything got divided up. We were his first family. He had a second family. Lots of drama with family
Of
situations.
course, I can imagine going through probates
And like all I would say is, these things happen. This is what formed me as a person as well, the problems. And it wasn't a time for me to be buying property for them 4 years. And then we got the shop. My mum worked in the shop as well. Me and my sister, we also did the shop as well, the NISA.
So you left banking?
Yeah, well, not straight away. So obviously when he died in 2010, he left a portfolio of 40 houses.
Oh, wow.
And they were all bought outright.
Wow.
He was a risk adverse. Yeah, so meaning he didn't like anything on mortgage. So that had to be divided up between the 4 children and the wife, the second wife. So that all got divided up and everything.
So did you get a portfolio of houses come to you?
Yeah, but I shared them with my sister to begin with, so
Okay.
that we could do the shop.
So what you did you turn them into joint mortgage between you, or did you split the houses?
So there were no mortgages, so we just put them on joint assets between me and Sarah, and we literally decided to keep them together, and we didn't spend the money, and we focused our energy on sorting the shop out and filling all the properties.
So did you just rented the properties that you got?
So no. So for the first 2 years, because the probate didn't happen for 2 to 3 years, the properties were all empty. So all these 40 properties were empty.
Wow, what a waste!
And they were really run down. So this is where my property journey started, where we did projects of renovating houses. So we had one property. It's now when we got it. Well, when we were renovating it, it was worth 500. And we spent 100 grand on my dad's 100 grand on it. And then we got it up to a value of 800,000.
Wow.
So it was a lot of tears, lots of ripping out, wearing hard hats, getting dirty.
Did you get involved in the whole building?
Always. Even do it now. I love it. That's what I love doing.
Okay. And how do you know how to project manage these with no experience? You just get hold of a good builder and you on a day rate, or how does it work? Or do you subcontract some of the work?
Okay. So obviously, because we've been doing it now 10, 12 years, obviously we've learned a lot of skills along the way. In the beginning, we had a good couple of guys who used to work with us. Obviously at the first we were choosing the wrong people, and we were really lucky because we had my dad's money to help us learn them things. But now we're at a point where I'm doing mine, where I do a lot of the painting myself, or I might get my painter. He's really good.
Yeah.
He might come in and do bits and bobs.
Wow, you still paint yourself?
Yeah.
22 portfolio of 22 properties, and you still go and do
Sean,
painting?
you would laugh. We got a property on the 25th of November, and in my head, I knew the mortgage was due out in December. I knew the mortgage would be due out 22nd of December, because obviously it's going to come before Christmas. And I said, we have got literally 2 weeks to get this house done, because then we're going to have to go put it to market and get a nice tenant in there. And it was all systems ahead. Wow. So I didn't have time to wait for any workmen. Me and my partner, we ripped out. We were like there every day with the 3 kids. They're like running around, screaming, Mummy, Daddy, and we're just ripping out and doing everything. Wow.
Where does that hunger come from?
I don't know.
Because you're a very shrewd businesswoman. Then I have to say that.
Do you think?
Because you don't want to lose a penny on the deal. Like some people are like, I got the property.
Yeah.
I pay 2-3 months of the mortgage. It's only 400, 1,200 quid. I don't want to stress myself out now.
No.
But you sound like me. Got the bloody asset. There's a loan coming out. Yeah. Get the builders in. Wham, bam. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Everything were booked. Everything were booked. So obviously, I'm not good at putting a new bathroom in. So I rang. I've got 3 built. So this is what I was going to say to you. Don't only just have one accountant. Don't just only have one broker. Yes. Don't just have one builder. Don't just have one painter. Have a team. Have like 3 builders that you can call on. If that one's busy, then you've got someone else. So you're not waiting for people.
Where do you find these people? How do you get free of each
from the
people?
shop, from our shop?
It's very
from our shop. So it's like a community. Yeah. So I'm from Leeds, and My dad was quite well known as well.
Yeah.
And then obviously because we've ran the shop for 10 years,
Yeah.
people know that we do this kind
So
of
where
thing.
would other people find these people from? Like, so not
Yeah.
everybody has a shop
Yeah.
that they go to. So what am I doing? Am I standing in a shop all day?
No. So what I would do is go to your local merchants. They might recommend someone
Yep.
to you. So go to, your
That's a good one.
Selcos or your Howdens. They might have cards there. Speak to guys. At the end of the day, doing up your property is like an interview. So, tender it out, so to speak. See who can give you the best price, because Mr. Joe Blogs might not give you the best price, but you do need to do your research.
Is the best price always the right way to go
Not
about
always.
it?
No, because at the end of the day, someone might be charging you £500 less, but then if you're going to have to go back and redo that bathroom where you've got a tenant in there and it's leaking everywhere, that is not worth it. Sometimes it's worth it paying a bit more for a better builder or for a better joiner, plumber, whatever.
Nice. So
sorry, I'm going now.
no, it's good. So you got your first property, and then you inherited how many from your father?
5.
5 from your father. And then what happened from there? Because you're working in the shop now. You've left the bank?
Yeah, so I didn't at first. I was doing both. Don't ask me. We were like living on like no sleep. I was working in the bank, running the shop, filling the properties. Obviously, because I was the bank manager, RBS probably wouldn't want to know this. I was taking calls between working and filling them and sorting all the workmen out. And then on the weekends, we were doing things on an evening, and it was just like, because it's not been plain sailing. We've had cannabis grows in our houses.
Yep.
We've had evictions to deal with.
These are the things people don't talk about.
Yeah.
People don't talk about what goes wrong. You've already said you've bought your first asset was maybe not the best choice because it was a cottage and it was a listed building.
Yeah.
We come across like cannabis farms. What other things do go wrong?
Yeah, okay. So the other things could be your tenant dies in the property. I've had 2 tenants die in the property.
Wow.
And I've had to go in because obviously not heard from them and it's me finding them. That can be really hard. Other things that can go wrong is ceilings coming through, tenants just leaving a bath running, not for any apparent reason. They just done it. And you're there leaving it to sort it out.
What's the market like in Leeds? Do you get where you're buying your properties, the area? Do you have good tenants?
So anybody, right? Tenants are tenants at the end of the day. Look, people can go through problems in their lives that can make them a bad tenant. It might not be that they're a bad person. And I just think when I rent my properties, it's not always to make lots of money. I also feel as I'm doing a social aspect to it, that I want to provide a nice accommodation for people so they can grow their families. I tend to not do HMOs. I have got 5 flats, but I tend to stick to more houses because I want to give something back to the community. I want people to enjoy where they live and grow their family there. And tenants wise, you can have a good tenant, you can have a bad one.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. We only remember the bad tenants, don't we?
Yeah.
There's people living 7-8 years in your house, paying the rents, and it's going smoothly. We'll only start talking about this is what's wrong in my life right now, or this is what's gone wrong. So it's not. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah. So touch wood. At the moment, it's been okay, but there might be a period where it's bad again, and I just think. If you had just only had 1 or 2 houses, I really wouldn't do property. I'll be honest with you. If you're going to do it, you need to fully go into it. I mean, I'm not saying leave your job. Have your job, but have this as a side hustle. But remember, I just think it's just bricks and mortar never lies. This is my little saying I always say. If you put something into, a house or an asset or something like that into a property, it's going to appreciate with time. Yeah.
So what advice would you give somebody who wants to get into real estate? What are your 3 top tips, for example?
Speak to as many people as you can. Follow Sean. There's other guys out there in the whole property industry. Follow them all. Do a bit of learning around the subject. Get an app. Get your Rightmove as your app or Zoopla. Have a look at properties. Go to viewings. I'm not saying put offers in, but go see what's out there. Go see what's in your environment. And 3, start saving. Start saving because or maybe ask families. It's sometimes families.
Do you think saving is a mindset?
Yeah. It's like healthy eating. It's a mindset.
Wow.
That's what I always think.
It's like being disciplined.
Yeah,
I
you take
cannot eat
yourself to the
that.
gym. I'll take myself to the gym. I'll work out for 2 hours and I'll only eat chicken and protein, or I'll only eat like low carbs today. But you should be also doing that with your money.
It feels like you've been through a tough journey yourself. You've worked in shops. You've had a very disciplined father. You've gone to uni 5 years, done dissertations.
Yeah.
You've worked in banking. You've gone through, a death in the family. You've been through a lot. Your journey's been amazing, for what you've been through. And so that resilience, that discipline has been instilled and built in you. What do you say to somebody who hasn't had a journey like yourself and they go, look, actually, my mum worked in Sainsbury's, my dad's got a good finance job. I never had trouble with money. I went to school, I went college. I've got a job, but I'm not that good at saving my money because I've never been without anything. So it's almost like I've not been through any pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had to feel any pain, so I don't have to feel like I actually need to do it.
Yeah.
What can people like that do?
So I just think, I don't know. I always think you're never too old to start. That's what I think as well. People like that, even if you haven't had these struggles, that doesn't mean why you can't have a go and start now. Why not? I don't know. I just think I think sometimes it can click at a certain time in your life that you get that passion that you want something and you want something more, that you realize if I carry on living just, with this 9 to 5, day in, day out, you're never gonna. My dad always used to say this, right? You're never gonna become a rich if you are working for somebody else. You have to have that side income or that side hustle to make that extra money so you can have a nice life. And if you want these extra nice things, the nice holidays, the beautiful car, something's gonna have to give.
Yeah. So can I ask you, when is the right time to go from employed to self-employed?
Oh, this is the big question.
This is the question.
So I was talking to you. Well, I shouldn't say that, but I did talk to you, touched on this. For me, for ages, only up until last September, I was working for somebody else. I worked for Direct Line. And I found it really hard in my head, even though I'd got to 20 houses by then, and now we're at 22. I thought in my head, I can't cover my outgoings without that 1-2 grand from Direct Line a month. But actually I can. I've realised by not having that income, I'm fine. But it's just, maybe it's your mindset. Sometimes it's our mindset. And it's maybe re-looking at where you're spending the money, doing an income and expenditure, writing it all down, and looking at your direct debits. I'm a firm believer of being on it with your direct debits, cancelling the ones you don't need. I'm not saying don't give to charity, because it's really good to give to charity. But if you're giving out £200-300 to charity payments, but I'm not saying I'm on about the Oxfams of the world and everything, where you're paying the big wigs rather than the actual charities getting the money. Maybe looking at these things.
Yeah. It's all the small things that add up to be the big things, really.
To Netflix. Do you really need Netflix? How much telly do you watch? I don't really watch telly. I'm sad. So
yes. Another thing that you can actually help us with, and a lot of women out there, is do women face discrimination out there in workspaces? Because me as a guy, I've never really noticed it. If anything, I think when women put in a lot of hard work and determination, they do get recognized for it. If sometimes they get promoted faster than you, but I've never thought of it as a thing. I've never let that be a barrier to myself. Do you have a different opinion?
So yeah, I do. And also being Asian as well, Indian. So firstly, for a woman in property, some builders won't like talking to women.
I think you get a better deal.
No, not always. So it depends. So obviously, because I've been on this journey for nearly 12 years, I've experienced where certain builders don't respond as well to me. But then what do? I just don't work with them anymore. I look for another builder.
What do you mean they don't respond well to you?
They don't really like my me questioning, because obviously I'm different how I look at things or how I aesthetically can see a property. So I tend to look for, so for example, I'll give you at Christmas, the guy who did put my bathroom in, he's got daughters.
Yeah.
So, and he likes how I am.
Yep.
Like and I do come in and check on the workmen. If I've got a lot of people would just give them the keys and want maybe a turnkey. I don't want that. I want to make sure that I'm all over the job, that it's getting done fast,
Yeah.
that they're on time. And some workmen don't like that. And they're like, why is she checking up on me? Is she my wife? Oh. So I don't tend to work with workmen that are like that.
Right.
And you can see.
Yes. Okay. How do you tackle obstacles and challenges then?
Obstacles and challenges. Okay, so I know look, I'm going to say it. I am quite religious and I do pray a lot, and I'm just saying it out there. And I do, have a positive vibe as well. And I think to myself, when I've got a challenge, I just have like mantras that I say to myself that I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Come on, Jess, you're going to smash this.
You talk to yourself.
Yeah, why not? You're your own best friend. I'm a firm believer in that. If you don't like the person you are, who else is going to like you?
There you go.
So you got to like number one.
Facts.
And then everybody will like you.
What if you are beating yourself up about something and you're finding it hard to look in the mirror and love that person? What advice would you give them?
I used to be that person a couple of years ago. I told you today that I've lost like 4 stone in weight. I was really down on myself a couple of years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'd had a family in a short space of time. So I've had 3 girls in like literally 7 years. And it really took a toll on my lifestyle and me. I'm getting back to what I used to be. So I'm feeling all full of energy and full of confidence. But it's all about mindset. I sat with a friend the other day and he was like, my knee hurts. I can't do this in property because my knee hurt. I twisted my ankle and then I got a mild heart attack and this happened. I was quite brutal what I said to him because he's a friend. I said, that is all noise. And you just need to just get rid of the noise and just get on with it. And put that in a suitcase, put it at the door and just crack on. I know it sounds...
That's quite hardcore.
I'm sorry.
No. It sounds like my dad. It sounds like my dad. And it actually, in certain aspects, is a little bit like me. I'm like, I don't have this filter. It's like, this is what you got to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're gonna face hurdles, you're gonna face challenges along it. It's not supposed to be easy.
No.
You're gonna be going through shit. Like, when has anything easy been good in your life?
But if you don't work for something, it's only worth it if it's hard.
Yeah.
If something's easy, it ain't right.
I mean, people understand in different ways, and some people just need to boot up their bum and go, stop the excuses and get on with it. And they're just like, because a friend of mine told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I was in my late 20s, I was overweight and I kept going, I'm so fat.
Yeah.
I'm so fat. And he goes, listen, man, stop complaining.
Yeah.
Stop moaning. If you every time I'm with you, you always complain about your weight. Yes, we go gym, but you're not concentrating on your diet. Like,
exactly.
Go and do something about it. If you're doing your diet and then you're moaning about it, I can understand. Do something. And I looked at him and I felt really embarrassed. Because no one actually pulled me up and told me that. And what did I do? I ended up competing on stage.
Amazing. That's
in
cool.
men's physique, and I'm all fully shredded. And I actually went, thank you for telling me that.
Nice.
So real friends tell you facts.
Yeah.
And fake friends would just tell you what you want to hear because they don't want to see you perform.
And I just think as well, especially the youth of today, like younger guys. I mean, I used to be in that gang where I wanted loads of friends. I just wanted loads and loads of friends. And, my dad used to always say to me, you don't need loads of friends. And I'll tell you now, Sean, I've got 5 good friends.
Wicked.
I can count 5 people. I don't see them every day of the week.
No.
I literally see them maybe once a year, if that. We message each other the odd time. But they know that I'm there for them and I know they're there for me. And literally, I just think, with the whole environment that we're in with Instagram and with Facebook and everything, that we think that, the number of friends we've got and the likes we've got, this is so important. And I just think you need to get it real. It's not always all about that.
Absolutely. Jess, you touched on a little topic earlier on as well about having kids.
Yeah.
And I forget that because as a man, I haven't had to have,
Yeah.
you know, what physically I haven't had to have kids. I can carry on working, etc. But as a woman, you know, for a certain period, you have to stop working.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're heavily pregnant
Yeah.
and you have to come away from work. How did that affect, like, any of your jobs that you were at, and then you've had to take maternity leave?
Okay.
And were you treated differently,
Okay.
unfairly, any discrimination?
Yeah.
Or do you feel that the system is, you know, up for all of that, and you've come back
Ooh,
exactly
that
where
is
you
topical.
come? Tell us.
Yeah. So, okay, when I had my first child, we had the NISA shop, so that was quite cool. So my sister and me, we organised where I could move around. You know, like I came back to work within 2 months or 3 months of having Isla, and I was back at work and I was doing 20 hours a week. So that was all cool when I had my first 2 girls. And then obviously she decided to sell the business, and we've now no longer have the shop anymore. So I decided to start working for Direct Line. And then I had my third little surprise, my COVID baby, Hannah. So I fell pregnant when I was working at Direct Line. But I'd only been there 11 weeks and I found out I was pregnant.
Right.
So when you've been with an employer less than 11 weeks, you don't get maternity pay.
Okay, how long do you have to be?
12 weeks.
12. Okay, so you just
So it was
missed
literally on the cusp, yeah. So I was so
timed that
worried.
wrong.
I know, just a little bit. I was so worried. I thought I was going to get sacked. I don't know. All these things come in your mind. And plus, you know, when you've got all these hormones going on, your head's all over. So I was obsessed that I was going to get sacked. And then I didn't, obviously. They let me have my maternity leave. They made me come back to work after 10 months, even though I was owed 2 months holidays. Anyway, I went back into work and it was just wasn't for me because there were just no compassion there. And I will call them out. It is Direct Line, and there was no compassion there. They were ruthless. And I just think, we as a whole nation need to think a bit better. Women, when they're having children, this is our future. We should be, nurturing them, and we should be looking after them. And it's not only that, with the government, the way this is going to get really controversial, they're going to help us mums for 2-year-olds. They're going to give us some funding, but that doesn't come in for another year. So I at the moment pay out £800 a month for my little girl to go in childcare.
Wow.
And then I'm meant to be working. I'm meant to be a working mum. So it's just like the system is all geared against us mummies.
Wow. Well, it's interesting to hear from your point of view on that. So just before we end this sort of podcast, I know we've only got a little bit of time left. I do really want to move on to another thing that you're specialist at, and that's being a mortgage advisor.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people out there are saying, hey, like, I want a mortgage, and how do I get a mortgage? And what are some of the mistakes am I making? So what are the main documents that you say that people need for a mortgage?
Okay, so the first thing you need is ID, obviously. And when you are waiting for a customer to send you your ID or your 3 months bank statements as well, your income, your wages need to be serviced through that account. So that just means it needs to be visible and it needs to tally up to your pay slips. Yeah. 3 months pay slips as well. So ID with your face on, with 3 months bank statements, and then 3 months pay slips. If you're self-employed, 2 years SA 302s and 2 years tax overviews for the last 2 years.
And what if I've only been employed for 1 year?
So what, PAYE or
No,
self-employed?
Self-employed.
So there are lenders, but bear in mind, you'd have less lenders looking at you with only 1 year's accounts. Ideally, to get the best rates out there, which everyone's savvy on rates, you need 2 years, really.
Okay. What are the common things people miss on their application?
What do you mean?
Like, so when you're going through their application, through, applying, sometimes do they have to fill that out, or do you fill it all
No, I
out?
would do that for you. As your broker, I would do that for you. So all I would need is all the right information. So, for example, if you've been spending lots of money on gambling, the lenders don't like that.
What else don't they like?
So they don't also like
OF.
transfer. So if you were going on a stag night out, and then you put something rude on your statement that you're transferring it to your mate. Don't do that. That looks really bad.
I won't be doing that. Don't worry about that.
And then what else don't they like? Yeah, so if you've got your credit card and you say you're in a sticky situation, you're thinking, I need some cash, drawing my cash out of my credit card. Please don't do that, because that really impacts your credit score.
Right. Okay. So I thought it was good to take money out on a credit card and then
No,
pay it back. No?
no. So the fastest way of improving your credit score for all your listeners out there is putting a small item on a credit card and paying it off over a few months. Obviously, paying it on time.
Yeah.
You'll get a message from the provider, the bank, what date your minimum payment it needs to hit, and then you need to do it by then. But that is the fastest way of improving your score.
Okay. Okay. I used to actually put my Oyster card. So
Oh
here
yeah.
in London we have
Okay.
Oyster card.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
just touch on the trains, and it used to be like, I don't know, about 100. What was it about?
160.
160 quid
Yeah.
or something, and every month I just used to top that up
Good
and,
for you.
and just take it out. So
Yeah.
because people go, you need a credit card, I was like, oh, I've got to be careful with this because I was
Yeah.
scared, and I was like, okay, so we can do the Oyster card,
Mm-hmm.
and that will be something. So that's what, it could be just as simple as something like that.
Yeah.
What are normally the most common mistakes people sort of make in terms of their credit history? So something will come up and you go, oh, that's just come up on your credit history. And they were like, I wasn't aware of that, or I didn't know about that. What are some of the things?
For example, if you're coming to me, or if you're going to any broker, getting your credit file is really important because the lender does cross-reference it. And if you're like giving a roundabout figure, so for example, you've got two credit cards and you've got £1,000 owing on one and then 500 on another. And if you then said, oh, well, I've only got 200 in on one and then 200 on another, they'll probably decline your application because they do check your credit report to see if it marries up. And if you're telling them a lie, they're then thinking, they're telling us a lie about this. What else are they going to lie about? Are they going to pay the mortgage on time?
Wow.
So they just decline it.
Okay. How long does it take for an application normally from start to finish? So if I'm like, here's my 3 months bank statements, there's my SA 302s, there's my ID.
Okay,
I've got the mortgage now. Like,
no. So obviously, it's dependent as well criteria. So what criteria means is you might not fit with a certain lender. So for example, if you want to buy a house for 150 grand and we then go to Halifax and they're only offering you maybe 50,000, so then we need to go to look for a different lender. So this is what takes the time, sorting and finding the right mortgage for you. And then you might be also savvy on rates and you might say, do you know what, Jessica? I don't like that rate. I want a better rate. So then we'd have to look for a different mortgage that suits you more.
Okay. When can I refinance?
So you can refinance. There's a couple of times you can do it. You can either do it as a further advance, which you touched on earlier. So what a further advance is, you're topping up your existing mortgage. So say, for example, you had 100 grand house worth, you got a mortgage of 30 grand. A further advance would be going to the lender, your existing lender, and asking for 20K. That's a further advance. It's like a remortgage. Or the other option is when you're out of your early redemption charge, when you're off your deal. So, for example, you're on a 2-year fixed, your deal's finished. I want to do some new lending. You can take the whole mortgage and put it with a different lender.
Okay. What are the fees associated with the mortgage?
Okay, so the fees will be your broker fees. Yeah.
Can you say how much you charge?
Okay, my charges are $495, but obviously if you were an investor or a buy-to-let, it would drop to $295 if we're going to do repeat business. Once you've paid that, I would look after you for the lifetime of the mortgage. So then it would be no fee again. Yeah, and then after that, you've got the valuation fee. So it could range from 180 to 250, 300, depending on what valuation is going to happen.
Really, that less?
No, that's only on the lender's valuation. Right. So it depends. If you're going to go for a full structural, it's going to be a lot more money.
Yeah.
Or a home buyer's might be a lot more money.
Yeah.
Could be 400 or 500 for a home buyer's.
Yes.
For a full structure, 800, 900, maybe 1,000. Depends which one you're going to go for. And then after that, you've got conveyancing. In Leeds, we're a bit cheaper. It's only about 1,500 for the conveyancing. Okay. And I could organise that for you as well.
Yeah.
Through my solicitors.
Nice. How often do I need to review my mortgage?
So,
and is that something you also put in your diary to call me before my mortgage is going to come up for renewal?
So I would. So if you were my customer and you had a 2-year fix, so we did that this month for you, you can look to review it 6 months before your product ends. Mm-hmm. So for example, we are on March, 2 years time, March. We will probably look about October time. I'd just say, hi, Sean. Shall we have a look at your mortgage? Because you can book a rate up to 6 months before your deal ends.
Nice. Where would you invest right now?
Where would I invest? London if I had the money. No. No. So, London prices are amazing, how they've grown up so much. And that is a dream of mine one day, because obviously I'm up north. But Liverpool's really coming out there. And
Really?
If any of your followers or even Newcastle Way, Sunderland, all these areas are really up and coming. You can get a really cheap house for around there, 65,
Wow.
£70,000.
Wow. And the rents are good as well?
The rents are good, £400-500.
Wow.
And if you're only spending so little on a house, then you're going to only make money.
That's a really good point. But like, how do you manage something like that?
It's easy. You may have to make the odd trip to begin with to get obviously your builders on board if there's work to be done. And you may need to make trips to get the right agent involved.
Yeah.
But then once it's all set up, there shouldn't be much,
And once you've got a good agent,
Yeah.
then you can go, hey, here's another one.
Yeah.
Like if they're looking for a good relationship.
And for a good agent fees, I mean, the agent that I use, they charge me about 8%. But the more houses you have with them, the more you can negotiate.
They drop that a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a first-time buyer.
Yeah.
What deals have you got for me at the moment, Jessica?
Got loads.
Yeah, what are some of the perks?
Okay, there's some of the perks of first-time buyers. So, like if you've got, before they used to do free legals. So now they tend to do cashback. So what my advice is to a first-time buyer is get a mortgage with cashback. So get your £500 and that'll give you towards your legals.
When do I get that cash back?
Once the mortgage completes.
Okay, cool. And what are the rates now for a flat?
Okay,
So if I'm putting like 20% down as deposit,
don't quote me because obviously the Bank of England changed the rates today and they've gone up by 0.25 today. Yeah. So as of last night, there were rates at 3.99, 3.49.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, the lenders they had dropped them because there's not much movement happening at the moment with purchases and everything.
So they need to still be lending, don't they?
Yeah, so the lenders are not really looking at the Bank of England at the moment.
Why choose a broker rather than a bank?
Oh, I love this question. So why you would come to a broker over a bank? So if you went and sat with, we'll just name them RBS or whatever the bank out there as well, they might have certain criteria and you might have fit it. So you might have missed a payment on a credit card, or you might have missed a payment on a phone bill, or you might have had an over limit fee or something like that, or you might have been, had something made you go over your overdraft. So certain lenders don't like these things. And if you're going to a specific lender, yes, they don't charge, but you might not hit their criteria and therefore the mortgage might decline. Whereas when you go to a broker, they go market wide, they look at the full picture and they say, right, this is what's happened with Sean's situation. Let's find a lender that will be okay with him and fit it accordingly.
Okay, so you get
market-wide.
You get a little bit more bespoke service.
Bespoke service, and also more chance of getting a better rate as well because you're going market-wide rather than just going to one specific lender.
How do I know which is the right broker for me? Because there's some people who network really well. They meet in banks. They're having regular meetings.
Yeah.
They've got a lot more people on their panel. Like, how do I know which one's the right broker for me?
So all I can say is I'm through Primus Network, and that's one of the biggest networks, and that just means that I can go up to 90 lenders, so I can see a lot of other brokers maybe with smaller networks, so they can only offer you so much. And it's just really finding the right broker. So I was saying to Sean earlier, everybody should have 2 to 3 brokers. You shouldn't be putting all your eggs in one basket. You should be having a couple of accountants, a couple of builders, a couple of painters. You should have all these.
A couple of people in each sector. But doesn't it mess things up having a few brokers? No. Like, you just need to keep up to date with your schedule.
No, because sometimes a different broker. So, for example, I used to have a broker that was DA, and
what does DA mean?
Sorry, directly authorised. Okay. So I'm an AR, so I'm an appointed representative of Primus Network, yeah? So a DA means they just go to the FCA and then they go to the lenders. So you're dealing with them. So they might tell you to go to a certain bank for a certain reason, whereas I wouldn't do that. I would just put you with the right lender for your circumstances, needs. So I would just, that's why I would go to have a couple of brokers, because sometimes they might give you the wrong advice as well. And it's just making sure that you've got the right advice going on there.
Okay, that's important to know. I've been with my broker last 15 years and
Yeah.
it just feels like I'm always getting the same sort of lender now.
Yeah.
And he's been very good. He's served me amazingly. I couldn't have got where I am today.
Exactly. Same
He's
here.
a very important part of the puzzle. And I owe him a lot, which is why I've showed so much loyalty
Yeah, me too.
staying with him. But it's just coming to a stage where my portfolio has grown massively and it just feels like, hey, when I ask for something, I need it done. I know, you know, you've got things to do, but I'm coming for a service now.
Exactly.
I am loyal to you, but it's just coming to a stage where I feel, hey, other people are going to other banks and hedge funds who are, you know, certain companies which are backed by hedge funds, and I'm like, why are you not offering me that, or why has it never been, you know?
You know why? I'll tell you
panel.
why. So I've experienced something similar. It's because it's not because they're bad people. It's just maybe they don't have that experience. So I am a firm believer in that you do outgrow people. I've heard this recently as well from yourself. You do outgrow people, and you shouldn't feel bad for outgrowing people. I was actually thinking about that aspect yesterday evening of have I outgrown people, and I've outgrown builders. I've outgrown certain individuals I've worked with. And, you know, you shouldn't think bad. And, you know, change, I'm one of them who hates change. But, you know, change is good. It's good for the soul. And it's good, and it opens you, you know, to other aspects of different personalities. And I always think, so my broker, she was very negative. She was very like, no, this is how we do things. Whereas I've got a totally happy disposition. I'm good at positive outlook. And you want someone who, like, if they don't know the answer, hands up, go to somebody else who does, because there will be someone else who will help you grow even to the next stage.
Okay. Another last thing I want to touch on before we just wrap this up now. Bridging.
Okay, cool.
How experienced are you in bridging? Is that something you provide?
So I in my company, Sims Mortgages and Protection, I said I'd do a shout out to them. So we do have specialists there that do bridging. I personally haven't done any bridging myself, even on my own properties, just because, not because of the different aspects. I think for me, you know, the whole idea of bridging to and then to refinance to look for a mortgage, it just didn't feel right for me. Some people want to do this, but obviously, like we were talking beginning, it's a numbers game. And I want to try and, you know, get the work done. And, you know, and I do tend to keep my properties as well. I don't really do flips. I've only done one flip. I'm not really a big flipper.
You're reminding me of that dolphin film now. Okay, that's interesting to know. And it's good to know sort of your aspect on that. Are there any courses that you recommend, or have you ever done a little course?
Okay, so obviously a couple of years back, I was like, am I doing the right thing? Because, you know, we all have these self-doubting moments. And for a while, even though, you know, like 3-4 years ago, I was at 16 properties and I was like, am I doing the right thing? Is it all working right? And obviously the knowledge was all there. But I've spoken to Tej Talks. Tej, big up to Tej. It's funny. And I've spoken to, you know, Natasha Friend. She's nice. And there's Jackie Thomas. And there's some other individuals that I've had chats with. I've had a bit of mentoring with. Even the hard hat follower and developers, hard hat developers, the two girls. So I've had chats with them. And, you know, I think sometimes you have that self-doubt. And then when you start looking and you're thinking, do you know what? I am quite good. And, you know, all your followers out there, you know, okay, they might not have all these properties or anything like that, but I bet they're good at other things and they should take it on board, you know, and just,
Is there any question that you wish I asked you?
No, I think you've covered quite a lot.
Is there any question that you'd like to ask me?
Yeah, who's on next? Who's on your next week?
Well, this is actually about 3 episodes behind, so I've got one coming out on Friday.
Have you? Wow.
And there's a different one coming out on Monday, so this will be in a couple of weeks.
Amazing.
But we have got a fantastic lineup. We're getting some great finance guys on.
Amazing.
We're actually diverting a little bit because I think property's not for everyone in terms of being a property entrepreneur,
Okay.
but people want to earn money and put it into property because they
Exactly.
want to get a passive income. And they
Exactly.
just want someone to do the mortgage, someone to look after it for them.
Yep.
And there's people like us that can help them with that.
So
But
definitely.
we should be having an actor producer coming on.
Amazing.
So you should be able to see that. There will be a boxer.
Amazing.
Who's going to be coming on in around May time. There might be an MMA fighter. He's
Oh, amazing.
really